Man, oh man, David Goggins, huh? Dude, I saw him yesterday. One of the most electric speakers that you could ever see live.
All right. So, obviously, this is your first fucking time seeing me speak. Because you guys are not fucking loud enough for me.
All right. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you 3 of the coldest takeaways I took away from this live event and show them how you could use it in your everyday. All right. Now, if you click this video, you obviously know who David Goggins is. I don't need to get into detail, but just quickly about me. My name's Austin. I've been on this journey of self-mastery for over 10 years now. What I do is I take everything I know about self-development, self-mastery, everything pertaining to that, and I just give it to you. All right. So if that's something of interest, stay tuned. We're going to get rocking here. Okay. So the first thing that he said that absolutely blew my mind, right? One of the coldest truth pills I've ever heard him say. He said, the problem with these days is nothing is hard, which makes everything feel hard. What does he mean by that? He said, when you need knowledge on a subject, instead of reading a book and getting the knowledge on it like you should do through that way, you just Google it. When you're going through something difficult, instead of having the hard conversation with yourself, you just chat GPT it. How do I get through this issue, right? And we do these little easy cop-outs every day. And it's because the world has instituted these things to make things more convenient, faster. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. However, when we take on the path of least resistance, something happens where we soften, right? And now all of a sudden, when we have to deal with something difficult, when something takes long, like building an aesthetic body, right? Building a business, even like these larger things, but even the smaller things, like sitting down to do your homework for an hour or two, it becomes difficult because the world has made everything else so easy, right? So what's the counteract to this? What do we do, right? This is why things like no fap, cold showers, sprints, fasting, meditation, right? All these things, they're difficult. We don't do these things just because of difficulty's sake. It's because we harden ourselves, right? These are protection mechanisms against a world that is actively softening us because of how fast it's evolving. All the things that are changing so quickly, like AI making things so easy now, that people are only going to continue to get softer, not know how to deal with issues themselves, right? Even on this channel, we talk a lot about sexual transmutation, right? The easy cop-out for intimacy these days is just go on the hub, right to the corn. In a split second, you have access to thousands, hundreds of thousands of women that are just there, right? It's the hard work. It's the pleasure without the hard work, right? It's the intimacy without building real connection that it takes to approach a woman, talk to her, build a connection, build a relationship, and then get to that point of intimacy. Like, instead of getting from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like you go A to Z. And that's the problem with the world that David's talking about. Everything is not hard anymore, which makes everything else hard. Like, that seems like all those steps I just mentioned seem like a mountain to climb for somebody who's addicted to the corn, right? That's just one point. All right. Like, for example, it's 3 p.m. right now. Okay. I still haven't eaten anything. It's not because I like doing it. I'd rather eat something right now. I'd love to have eggs, toast, all that good shit, right? But I'm making things difficult on myself. It's also making me mentally clear, right? What else? I did my interval sprints with my buddy an hour ago. That shit was difficult, and I challenged him. I told him to come with me. Let's do this. This is not like normal cardio. Let's hit this shit intense. And he was almost yakking, and I was almost yakking too. But it's difficulty. And speaking of no fap, 6 months I've been on this right now. I've been doing it for 6 years, but this current streak, if you want to call it that, 6 months. All right. And it's not for the sake of just doing hard things. It's because when I need to turn on the camera, hit record, and do the difficult task for the day, this is not difficult to me anymore, right? For you, maybe it's just like you're not a content creator. You work in corporate, you work a retail job. You got customers yelling at you and shit all day. That shit gets mentally demanding if you're not somebody who's mentally tough. But guess what? You're somebody who spars. You do jujitsu, you do Muay Thai. You're getting your ass kicked in sparring. Guess what? That Karen across the counter yelling at you doesn't really have too much of an effect anymore, right? Because you're mentally calloused That shit doesn't phase you. This is the importance of hardening yourself, right? Not because of just making things hard for hardness sake, but for making that outer shell difficult to pierce through. Okay? Now, the second thing he says, every day, I end every day in the black. Now, what does that mean? He's referring to a business concept of being in the black and being in the red. This is why we have Black Friday, right, every November. It's because businesses want to end the fiscal year in the black meaning profitable, red meaning unprofitable, right? So in David's context here, he talks about ending the day with more wins than losses, right? And his strategy, the way he said it, every day when he wakes up as, he famously says, he wakes up as David Goggins. And he's got to kick that guy's ass. He's got to become Goggins. That's his first win, is just getting out of bed and becoming Goggins. Because David, he wants to stay in the bed. It's cozy, it's warm. He starts out that way, just like the rest of us do. He's this hardcore Navy SEAL guy, but when he wakes up, he's just like all of us. He's got to make that first mental win of just getting up, getting through it, right? And then before he quote unquote starts his day, he's got to make sure, he said he has 15 wins before he even steps out the door, right? That's why he's doing, the push-ups, the friggin' cold showers, the running, the intense workouts. Because by the time that he steps out the door and ready to face his day, he's got 15 wins. So when the first loss tries to come his way, he's already outnumbered at 15-1. He doesn't give a shit. He goes on. He'll take the L. He doesn't care because he's got 15 wins already stacked up, right? And this is the importance of having solid morning routines for you guys. The morning routine gets a lot of hate because of the whole, Ashton Hall stigma now, right? But there's something to be said about it, dude. When you wake up and the first thing you do, instead of scrolling on your phone, you get down, you do 50 push-ups, you do 50 squats, you do 50 sit-ups, right? And not all of them, maybe just one of those things. That takes all but less than 5 minutes, right? You don't have to do a whole gym routine. If you don't like to do your gym routine in the morning, you could do it after, but have that mental win first. The cold shower, right? Maybe it's just a solid meal, right? You could debate all day, fast or have breakfast, but if you're having a healthy breakfast, instead of choosing the easy cereal, you take the extra, 5-10 minutes to make yourself eggs, sourdough, avocado, whatever it might be. You put that shit together, you're feeling phenomenal throughout the rest of your day, right? You take like I said, your cold shower. Maybe you're on, 7 days no fat. All these accumulated wins start to build your confidence. When you walk out the door and you have that first loss come your way, maybe it's a difficult customer at work, maybe it's a fight with your girlfriend, fight with your parents, whatever it might be, right? Because imagine you start your day off like that, off a loss. How's the rest of your day going? Loss. That shit's going downhill, right? But we know in our heart of hearts that when we start our day, it's not going to be perfect, right? So all we can do is arm ourselves with as many wins as possible. So that way, let's say we take 5-10 losses in the day. Very realistic, right? But guess what? We have 20 wins. You take 20 wins minus 10 losses, you're still in the black by 10, right? That's the whole point, winning every day. That's the thing, right? Rent is due every single day. It's not just this concept of, I did great today, so that means tomorrow I get to, take my foot off the gas because I had a great day yesterday. Like, nah, man, it starts at 0 every day. The timer resets, the counter resets. You got to keep score today, all right? And the cool thing that David said, right? As many wins as he might stack throughout the morning, he might have so many losses throughout the day, and he's in the red before he goes to sleep. He doesn't allow it to happen. He says, I got to get back in the black. So he's going to do whatever it takes, whether it's another run, right? It's another workout, reading another book, whatever it might be. He doesn't go to sleep until he lands himself in the black. That's freaking cold. That is freaking cold, dude. All right. Now, the third thing that he left, this really touched me, and I think it'll touch you guys too. He talks about the concept of reviewing your resume, right? Sometimes you have to look at your resume and remember who the fuck you are, right? Because you're going to have challenges, right? Whether it's breakups, things at work, maybe getting fired from a job, whatever it might be that's difficult. Sometimes that feels like a mountain to climb because it's in front of you. But sometimes all you got to do is look behind you. Look at all the shit that I overcame, right? A lot of you guys, a lot of you have probably been through something very difficult that was most people couldn't get through, right? That could have been severe depression. That could have been alcoholism. That could have been a bad heartbreak, right? You look at that shit, you overcame that, right? Now, David talks about, when he was going through difficult shit, he would look back at some of the things he did, right? 300 pounds, losing weight from 300 pounds, Navy SEALs, 200-mile run, best-selling author. Like, that's obviously a crazy resume. But you don't need to do all those things. A lot of us, we've been through maybe 2 or 3 things in our lives, maybe even just one thing. But that's all you need, is for you to look back, say, you know what? I did lose all that weight. Or, that was a really bad breakup. Like, she cheated on me. That put me in a dark place, but guess what? I got over it. I'm still here. Right? David, he said one thing. He said, guess what? Tomorrow the sun's going to rise. And so will motherfucking I. Dude, crowd lost it when he said that. But, dude, that's the importance of reviewing your resume. Think of all the shit you've been through. And this next thing that you're going through, right? It might seem like a mountain to climb, but that's just the next beast to slay. So guess what? When you inevitably make it through that, it's going to be in your past again. And you add that to your resume. When you go through the next beast, you look back at that and you're like, you know what? I remember when I faced that, I was like, shit, I can't beat that. But guess what I did? You slayed that dragon. And now it's part of your resume. So that's the importance of building your resume. So that you could look back on that shit and be like, you know what? I did all those things. This next challenge is nothing. All right? But holy smokes, man, that got me fired up. That's all I have for you. There was some more bits that David dropped that I might make a separate video on. So if you like this, let me know. I'll make a separate video on that. But thank you for watching. I trust that you took something away from this. Let me know what your favorite takeaway was. I'll see you on the next video.